From his closing argument, Koenig said that the government gave you information that was misleading. They want you to believe that Kelly was targeting these Jane Does. He didn't have to target women. His label promoted him as a playboy sex symbol. And at some point, he started to live that playboy sex symbol lifestyle. Where's the crime in that? He went on to compare it to the lifestyle of Hugh Hefner. We even heard him talk about a relationship that's a May September relationship or romance, one that involves an older man, a younger woman. He said that's something you may not be into, but it's not a crime. He even said that the government is trying to criminalize things like the word daddy, the thing that some of the accusers said that Kelly required his live-in girlfriends to call him. The defense attorney asked, how is that not a term of endearment? Even saying that the former vice president, Mike Pence, called his own wife mother, trying to show that just different people in different relationships have different ways of doing things. And he asked these jurors, here's another part of that closing argument, where's the predator? Kelly treated these women like gold, shopping sprees and spas, purses that cost more than cars. They may not be the couple or type of relationship that you would endorse, but they aren't married, so it wasn't polygamy. They weren't breaking any laws. They all bought into it. They were consenting adults. And he also went in on these Jane Does. He first said that Kelly always asked any women that he was around, and we did hear that through testimony, how old they were when meeting him. And he says that Kelly vehemently denies having sex with Jane Doe number 4, called her a stalker, a groupie extraordinaire. And he said that Jane Doe number 5, who is someone who has accused the defendant of getting with her when she was 17 years old, says that she had no skills and that living with Kelly was the best type of living that she ever had. And he also questioned Jane Doe number 3, the one who testified that Kelly kept her in a dark room for days, that her rape claims were unfounded because there was no police report or a rape kit. A lot of allegations, but it was clear that he knows this case very well, despite being someone who came into this case later in the prosecution and the continuing of this case. But I think a very compelling job from the defense when you compare the two closing arguments.
Vinny. But we have to remember, okay, this is not like a typical sex abuse molestation trial. This is federal racketeering. And I think what's going to be really interesting tomorrow before we go into verdict watch is going to be the judge's instructions on what the jury has to find for a conviction. And it's not as simple as just Hugh Hefner-esque sex acts. It actually has to be this criminal enterprise engaged in racketeering behavior with these underlying predicates of the Mann Act or forced labor. It's going to get really, really technical before it's handed over to the jury for deliberations. So I think we're amiss to assume that this is just a sex case, and if you're like Hugh Hefner, then you are therefore guilty. You have to be a racketeering conspirator engaged in this type of criminal organized behavior to be found guilty here.
And they fashioned this case under the RICO statute. But I still think that there are problems with this case. I mean, the allegations are horrible and they're disgusting, but there are still problems with this case because these complainants were there voluntarily. They were seeking him out. And so to say that he was, a predator and going after these individuals is problematic, I believe, for the government.
I don't know why the jury is taking so long to render a verdict in this case. You got to be clear on what Rkelly is being charged with. He's not being charged with statutory rape. Everyone says, oh, he's having sex with young girls or underage girls. He's not being charged with statutory rape. He's not being charged with forceful rape. He's being charged with racketeering, which says that the only reason he has a music career, not because he likes music, the only reason he makes albums and tours is to entice women to have sex with them. That is what a criminal organization is, and it has to be the sole purpose. And he's also charged with violations of the Mann Act. The Mann Act was a group of legislation from 1911 or 10 that was used to prosecute black men for dating white women. One of the famous people who was prosecuted for that was Jack Johnson, the first black heavyweight champion in the world, for having a white girlfriend and driving her across state lines that he was convicted of. And now they've resurrected the Mann Act and are charging R. Kelly with it. So I know people think, yes, he's been with underage women. He may have even drugged them and raped them, but he's not being charged with any of those crimes. He's not being charged with rape of an intoxicated person. He's being charged with racketeering, running a criminal organization. The basis for his music career and his touring was to entice women to have sex with him. And that is an easy question for a jury to answer. There's no evidence that that is the sole reason that he does music. You know, I mean, we didn't indict Hugh Hefner to say that the sole reason he ran the Playboy Mansion was to entice women to have sex with him. So I really think this is a witch hunt.
You know what? But I think that was the reason Hugh Hefner set that whole thing up. Bernarda Villalona, your thoughts about the note sent out by the jury?
So it was a note that I expected. I just didn't expect it so quick. I'm glad actually that the exhibits weren't sent back to the jury as soon as they started deliberating, because that note gave us some insight as to what they're focusing on now at the beginning of their deliberations, and that being Sonia's testimony, Jane Doe number 3, as well as that letter about Jane Doe number 5. Specifically about that letter, what insight it gives us is that the jury has some pause about the credibility about Jane Doe number 5 as to, did this really happen? You did send a letter that, well, not sent a letter, but you wrote a letter that he treats you with the utmost respect, that there's nothing going on here. And it goes to the theme that the defense had, that, look, these ladies here, you heard of the show Surviving R. Kelly, but instead what you have here is surviving off of R. Kelly. And that this case is full of lies, full of greed, people that want to make money off of R. Kelly, but that none of this is true. There was some consensual relations. You may think that it's not normal. It may not be your cup of tea, may be too kinky for you, but guess what? That's just how R. Kelly got down, and that's how these ladies wanted to get down with them. So I like the note just for us, for our curiosity, to give us something to think about over the weekend, but you can tell that this jury is looking at both the prosecution's case as well as the cross-examination by defense counsel and their closing arguments.
So you just heard several different lawyers tell you that this case is basically nonsense. You see, the government is trying to do something. They're trying to convince you that this case is about one thing when it's really about another. And what this case is really about is it's about the 2008 case. They're trying to take the 2008 case and they're trying to surmount it on this case. But they know they can't do that because it's essentially illegal and it's unconstitutional. So what they're doing is that they're taking this 2008 case and they're taking these new allegations and they're putting a wrapper on it. They're putting a new face on it. And that face is called racketeering. That face or that wrapping is called the Mann Act. So they figure that if they put this disguise on this case, then they can get a chance to retry him on the 2008 case. And that's essentially what they're doing, right? They're not arguing, and I'm going to be honest with you, they're not arguing the same exact elements in this particular case as they are in the 2008 case. They will do that when they come back to Illinois in the federal case. They're going to try to do that. But in this particular case, they're not making the same arguments. However, they're not presenting the same elements. I'm sorry, they're essentially making the same arguments, but they're not presenting the same elements. What they're trying to do is that they're basically trying to get him on dealing with underage people. That's really what they're trying to get him on. But in this case, you can clearly see that people lied. Now, I have here on my page a response from Angela SNB Sexy, and she basically says, did all the girls lie? Well, Angel, the thing that you're not catching, I don't know if you're not catching this, or maybe I'm not sure what point you're making, but the thing I believe that you're not catching is that they are trying to get him with racketeering. In order to get him with racketeering, they have to prove that he actually had underage people. He was dealing with underage people. The two core witnesses towards that, or to be able to make that argument, are Geronda Pace and Rkelly. And both of those people lied about their age. If you take those two people out, right? If you take those two people out because they lied, then you really wouldn't have a case of racketeering. After all, what would he actually be charged with at that point? You understand what I'm saying? Because you're trying to say the purpose of his organization was to recruit people that were underage. When the reality of it is, the two people that actually were witnesses in this case lied about their age. So they actually have no case. They're just trying to lump a lot of things together. Again, I just want to point out that the underage element is very important for them to prove racketeering. It's not the most important thing, because the most important thing to prove that he had a criminal organization was to be able to prove that he had a criminal organization. That was the most important thing. I think I butchered that a little bit. Let me step back. The most important thing in this case is to prove that his music business was a criminal organization. And there's no way they're going to be able to do that. They can't even actually make the allegation that his business was a criminal enterprise. And in the first video, I've already explained that he was in business basically to make money and to support his brand and his music. And I point out that his business didn't deal in drugs, it didn't deal in crime. He just asked his employees to help him out with managing some of his personal life. Was that wrong? I don't even think it was wrong. I think it was sloppy, but it's not wrong. So at the end of the day, this entire case is 100% nonsense. You've heard it from actual lawyers. They came on and they basically told you that Rkelly did not have a criminal enterprise. He had a music business. And then Pamela Jackson comes on to my page. And again, I invite people to come onto my page with opposing views, with opposing opinions. And I'm not mad at you. I want you to come to my page so we can have a conversation, right? You know, that's what I think blogging is all about, to be able to have a chance to talk to people you disagree with in a respectful forum. That's what I think, it's all about. But Pamela Jackson commented, she says, shaking my head, had all you people saying he going to walk free because of the lies. All you people is messed up in the head just like him. He did most of the things. I'm sorry here, I had to expand this. He did most of the things. If those things have tapes and much, he is guilty. All you weak-minded people that think he is not sick in the head, shame on you for wanting him to go free. Okay, so Pamela Jackson, the question I ask you, or the question I would ask you, is what specifically did he do that requires him to go to jail specifically, right? Because we've already established that the underage part, in this case, the two young ladies lied. So we already established that. So you take those people have to be removed. They have to be thrown out because they lied. So what is it specifically in this case are you saying that he's guilty of, right? And when you ask yourself that question, you'll find out that the government doesn't have the case, right? Because you look at some of the allegations, he had young ladies call him daddy. Okay, that's not a crime. You look at the allegations that he was controlling. Okay, that's not a crime. And then when you look at the other allegations that he locked somebody up in a room. Okay, do you really believe that? How are you locked in a room when the door is not locked and you have your cell phone? Then you look at the allegations that he starved people. Okay, that's not believable, right? Because the only person you're an adult. And as an adult, the only person responsible for feeding you is you. No one else is responsible for feeding you. So if you're going to sit here and try to claim that you were locked in a room when you had your own cell phone, that don't even make any sense. You try to claim that you were locked in the room when the door wasn't locked and you have your cell phone and you want us to believe that you were in that room because you were forced to. You could have called, and you could have called DoorDash, you could call Uber. Well, those things probably weren't around at the time, but you still could have called like a local pizza restaurant. You could have called a local food place. You could have done anything to go out and get yourself some food. You could have went to the gas station and got yourself a bag of chips or some Doritos and a Coca-Cola or something like that. So all this stuff is just absolutely nonsense, right? But again, I want to hear what you think. Questions and comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe.